At that time, it was the opinion of the coroner that Edrington had died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The body was transported for an autopsy. That autopsy was performed by associate medical examiner, Dr. John Huntsinker, assistant, associate, learning. At the conclusion of the procedure, it was Dr. Huntsinker's conclusion that Edrington's wound was self-inflicted. This is on page 209, bottom of 208, top of 209 in Doug Asher's book. And Doug Asher says that Dr. Huntsinker, at the conclusion of his procedure, autopsy, that it was his conclusion that Edrington's wound was self-inflicted. That's in Edrington's book, in Asher's book. Now, on the TV, last year before, he's telling Lee Searcy that he ruled Johnny Edrington's death undetermined. Thank you, babe. I was going to say inconclusive, but he undetermined, which is the legal term that is actually on a death certificate. That's what he says on TV. He told the newspaper January the 6th of 89, he's never told anybody. Because somebody had called the newspaper and told them that this was an S side. And they called Dr. Huntsinker up, Emily, and they've asked him because somebody has called the newspaper, said, hey, this is a S side. Anonymously. Dr. Huntsinker said, I have never told nobody that this was a suicide.
Yep.
No other wounds or signs of a struggle were found on the body. Well, that goes against this report there. In William Stewart's report, he says there were signs of a struggle on the hood. The hood ornament was broke on the cruiser, which would have been at the front of the cruiser where he was killed.
Could have been conducting.
There was dents in the hood. There was photographs of it. And scrape marks. Based on the mounting evidence, the Loyal County coroner correctly refused to state on the death certificate the cause of death was a homicide. I contacted Kentucky State Police. This is Mr. Asher talking. I contacted the Kentucky State Police Commissioner, Michael Troop, about this investigation. I said to him, I don't know what some members of the command staff are telling you about this case, but I want you to know from me to you that this was a suicide. Now, Doug Asher, the post commander at Post 11, says he called Michael Troop. Now, Michael Troop is still alive today. He still has a law office, I think, in Frankfurt.
So is he trying to influence him in saying it was an S side?
Did he even call Michael Troop? Is there did he do anything? Everything within the state police is written, babe. Everything's in written. Everything's in writing. State police likes to have. Go ahead.
But what I'm saying, he was saying the higher ups was trying to no avail to change it to the homicide. You know what I'm saying? And here he is talking to this man and saying, no, it was an S side.
Okay.
So is he trying to convince him that it was an S side?
I don't know that he talked to him at all, babe.
Yeah.
You're missing the point.
Okay.
You can't go by what he says, because what he says, what he said through this chapter here, 80% of it is not true. And it's proven not true. It's proven not true on many things.
Okay.
So going with what you're saying, yeah, if he's telling them that.
See what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but see, I don't even, in my opinion, I'd say that he's never contacted. If he didn't want to approach the heavies, if he didn't approach the heavies that he's talking about, the command staff,
The higher ups.
the higher ups, you're going to hear more about them. If he didn't approach them and call them out and say, hey, because they done said, if you're
Think it's other than.
anything other than a homicide, you don't need to be working at this post.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah.
worked there for years and years and years, him and all these guys. Something was wrong. So I don't know. He says here that he contacted. Well, Michael Troop could clear that up. He could clear that up with a good reporter from the newspaper or television station. Anybody. Call him up. He'll tell you the truth, I'm sure.
Sure.
But he says and that's one reason I don't think he wants to badmouth him. It's one of the ones he don't badmouth, because some of these other ones, most of them are dead in that report over there. My computer's kicked off now, but I was going to go over the names that's dead, and you would see that a lot of the ones that he refers to, he doesn't name but a couple in here, and when he does, they're deceased now. I contacted the commissioner. Don't know what they told you, but this is suicide. Immediately, some members of the KSP command staff began to scramble to obtain a death certificate that would indicate the cause of death was not a suicide and fit their desired scenario of a homicide. Is that not fraud? Is that not corruption? Is that not insurance fraud? They tried to scramble to obtain a death certificate that would indicate the cause of death was not a homicide and fit their desired scenario of a homicide. Our newly appointed commissioner, Michael Troop, did not have law enforcement background. I do not believe he was in on the cover-up. I fully understood, or that he fully understood the command staff's strategy. Wow, a U.S. attorney? Well, one-time U.S. attorney? I believe he understood the whole thing. I believe he understood that's why he's in charge of the state police at that time. Wow. A major ordered me. Whoa, what major? What major could this have been? A major ordered me to accompany him to a meeting in Lexington, Kentucky. Wouldn't this been a good place to, he knows the time. He knows the date when he gets places, when he does things. 9:25 on January 9th, 8:52 on the next morning, 1:52, the commands. But he knows all these times. He knows all these dates. He knows all these people that's deceased or something but a major ordered me. Well, there was only one major that I can remember from looking at the names. So it wouldn't be hard to name that major. A major ordered me to accompany him to a meeting in Lexington, Kentucky with Dr. Huntsinker and Dr. David Jones, director of the state medical examiner's office. I knew Dr. David Jones.
So why would he use the word ordered? He ordered him to go.
I don't know.
I'm
Maybe
just curious.
Maybe if he's actually, good point. Maybe if he's actually mentioned, maybe if he's the one hypothetically that called anonymously to the newspaper and said, hey, this is S side.
I mean, but why not just say ask? Why not just say, I need you to go here.
If that's true,
ordered.
they're probably wanting him to have his chance to voice his opinion.
Okay.
They're probably wanting him. You've got all this to talk about, all this to say, if he is saying this at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we want you there to put in your 2 cents and explain to us how this is a S side.
Right. Okay.
That's a good point you brought up.
I just was wondering because he said ordered instead of asked.
Well, so he can have time to speak his piece.
Okay.
Probably going to be 2 videos. That's okay. If they want to watch it, they can.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they watch it so they can correct anything we've said wrong and help us solve this. Dr. David Jones, Director of State Medical Examiner's Office. I made no comment about the case in this meeting.
But he's so.
I'm going to start kneeing you if you keep it up.
No, I'm just saying he's determined to make it
Guys,
come out
listen
of
to that.
But he's not saying nothing?
I made no comment about this case in this meeting. He acts like he's complained.
That's what I'm saying.
Insurance fraud, S side's a homicide's a S side. He got in a meeting with these people, with the state medical examiner at this meeting. I made no comment about the case at this meeting. That's his own words. It was obvious to me, however, that the intent of the meeting was to influence Dr. Huntsinker to change his position on the cause of Edrington's death and to change the findings of the report he had generated based on the autopsy he had conducted. Well, guys, remember the report that he had concluded was, according to him, on Lee Searcy, undetermined. He told the newspaper, I've never told nobody this was ever a S side. Undetermined. So if they're wanting him to change his findings on the report, they was wanting them to change it from undetermined to homicide, because his report wasn't S side. He never wrote a report that had S side on it. Only report he ever wrote said undetermined. And now they're meeting, and at this meeting, they're wanting to change his report. Asher says, well, it would change from undetermined that now we found a cause and it's a homicide. However, Huntsinker did not make any changes to the report as a result of the meeting. Okay, see, so this is easily proved. If there's ever a lawsuit filed against Mr. Asher, then maybe they can get that report, at least that part. Good attorneys can subpoena at least that part of the autopsy report to show where Huntsinker at one time filed a report where it was a S side, because he says in his own testimony and in the interview that it was undetermined. The only thing he ever come up with was undetermined. Now we're going to talk about only way to find them is dig them up, and I think they knew the way I was leaning. Well, the way he leaned was undetermined. Like Sheila said the other day, we was discussing it. Leaning a certain way and putting it in a report is two different things. Yeah. To put it in the report, you would need some evidence. Now, Doug's writing a book. Doug can say anything he wants to in this book. He can say they done scientific tests on how the muzzle flashed and the muzzle recoiled. He can say this is a book. But when you're doing a report, especially a medical examiner's report, an autopsy, and you've got David Jones, state medical examiner, the chief medical examiner, George Nichols, and this other guy,
Vincent DeMayo.
Are you going to really put that in the report? See, you've got three medical examiners here, at least three, plus the FBI. You've got 2 or 3 troopers here on this side. That at first you said this, now you're ashamed to back up. I think what happened here, guys, a lot of people made some calls and they got embarrassed and they didn't want to retreat. I was going to say it earlier and I got sidetracked, but police officers are proud. Nobody wants to admit when they're wrong. They could have been wrong here. They was wrong. They was wrong. They're wrong on this case. This was nothing but a homicide. Let's finish on. I don't know. I'm missing some of it here, but I don't want to read this whole chapter.
Right.
Let him go buy the book. Go buy his book, guys. He needs it. If you're going to degrade somebody like this bad, the person has to need. I feel you. I don't understand how somebody can treat a military veteran and a Kentucky State trooper, a trooper that worked with you, under you.
You're right.
If you're going to be confused or if you're going to make a mistake, make it in the range of a homicide rather than go the low road and say that a man done that to himself. If I was going to err, I'd rather err on the side of his reputation and character. Man's in his grave. He can't defend himself, and you're going to generally base. However, Huntsinker did not make any changes to his report. So that would be in the case file in Frankfurt. If he didn't make any changes, and Asher's saying that he had it marked S side, then that would prove Huntsinker didn't tell the truth when he told the newspaper that I've never told nobody this was a S side. This report, guys, we're not trying to prove somebody right, wrong, truthful, not truthful in this chapter. It's not hard. But these other people, on January the 4th, 1989 at 1:52 p.m. Oh, can't remember the command staff. Okay. One of the command staffers advised me he had consulted with Dr. Huntsinker and requested the FBI perform a psychological autopsy. This process is often referred to as equivocal death investigation. And that's where the FBI come in. I'm going to skip on down here. Reaching out to the FBI for an equivocal death investigation, in this case, was another obvious attempt of the command staff to fish for anyone or agency that would give them justification whatsoever to obtain a finding of homicide for Edrington's death certificate. There were no vague facts in this case. All evidence plainly indicated a suicide. Hey, guys, listen to that one paragraph there. This man's complaining because the state police heavies, the command staff in Frankfurt, has actually requested the Supreme, once upon a time, the Supreme Law Enforcement Agency in the United States. They have requested the FBI to come and look at this case and see what they find out. And he's implicating the FBI at this time now. He's saying, reaching out to the FBI investigation, equivocal death investigation in this case was another obvious attempt of some of the command staff to fish for anyone. We're going to fish for the FBI. The FBI didn't know Johnny Edrington. The FBI didn't know these people. And they're going to come in here like DeMayo did. Mm-hmm. I got it. I'm getting
pretty good.
DeMayo, these people that don't know nobody, but they're going to put their reputation on the line. They're going to. But he says they're fishing for anybody that will put Edrington's death certificate as a homicide. And then he says there were no vague facts in this case. All evidence plainly indicated suicide. All the facts. All the facts is that he had a gun in his hand, it's pointing at him, and it's in the wrong hand. That's it. That's all we've got. We got scratches on the hood. We got a hood ornament broke. We've got scratch marks out where a violator has pulled out or somebody. Mm-hmm. That's in the police report. That's not in a book. That's in a police report. All the evidence plainly indicated S side. That's what Mr. Asher says. The command staffer advised me that the FBI agent Ronald Walker, okay, so he's still alive.
Okay.
So that one there is still alive. There's the one that's dead, punk.
Oh, I didn't see the title. Sorry.
So this FBI agent Ronald, now the one that's dead, the one you're talking about is Hazelwood. Robert Hazelwood of the FBI's behavioral science. In fact, I think they got a building at Quantico named after him. He was such a good behavioral science doctor and everything. But he's the one that done the investigation of Johnny. On January the 9th, 1989 at 9:25 a.m., Lowell County Coroner Ed Bowling advised me that Dr. David Jones, director of the State Medical Examiner's Office, had contacted him the previous Friday. Jones had requested that no coroner's inquest be held at this time. This was no doubt requested because the command staff knew the coroner was going to rule the death certificate. The cause of death was a suicide. The reason behind this ploy was obvious to the coroner. Now, guys, he named this title of this chapter, and I don't mean no disrespect to Mr. Ed Bowling, his son Doug Bowling, or the Bowling Funeral Home, or nothing else. He named this chapter of this book, the Big Gray Coverup. See, that would be, he's saying here that the coroner, the way I'm reading it, Lowell County Coroner Ed Bolin advised me that Dr. David Jones had requested that this was no doubt requested because the command staff knew the coroner was going to rule out the death certificate cause of death was suicide. The reason behind this ploy was also obvious to the coroner. Now, this is Doug Asher's book, and he's the one saying this. Unless we find something here where the coroner says that. So far, it's just Doug Asher saying it. But he's implicating the coroner here now. He's saying that the coroner thought it was a S side, but he didn't file no papers. He didn't contact the FBI. He didn't contact U.S. Attorney. He didn't contact the Kentucky State Attorney General's office or the Kentucky Coroners Association and say, hey, can we get some legal representation? What should I do here on this? Because I think they had a Kentucky Colonels Association around then that would have had a legal department. During my conversation with him, here we go. Let's see what he says. During my conversation with him, he's talking about Ed Bolin, the coroner.
Okay.
He stated to me, I hope this Jones request for no inquest is something other than what I think it is. Doug Asher says that the coroner told him, said, I hope this request for no inquest is something other than what I think it is. Like there's, according to the way I'm reading it, like something's wrong. State medical examiner, chief state medical examiner, DeMayo. Not surprisingly, 44 minutes, not named the command staff yet, but 44 minutes later, after my conversation with Coroner Bolin, I received a phone call from headquarters. A command staffer advised me he was okay with whatever Lieutenant Stewart and I decided to do about the death certificate. He made the statement knowing that the coroner had been asked not to conduct an inquest, effectively leaving any ruling as to the cause of death now totally out of both Lieutenant Stewart and my control. Guys, Phelps, anybody watching the other troopers that's talked to us and know how we investigate, tell me when a lieutenant detective and a post commander can designate the cause of death.
Well, he said whatever they decide, but the thing about it is Mr. Stewart did not agree with Mr. Asher.
But right here, babe, we're on something else. Look at this.
Okay.
He made a statement knowing that the coroner had been asked not to conduct any, effectively leaving any ruling as to the cause of death now totally out of both Lieutenant Stewart and my control. Should have never been in their control. The cause of death is a medical examiner or the coroner. The cause of death is not in the control of a detective and a post commander. It's not in their control. They may investigate the scene. They may investigate the cause. They may investigate, but it's up to the coroner and the medical examiner to rule the cause of death and fill out the death certificate. But he says here that it sounds to me like it's sour grapes. Sounds to me like somebody ruffled his feathers. He didn't get his way on something, but that's my opinion. Now, what was you saying, baby? Going back to your comment.
Well, he said he's going to leave it. He was contacted. Commander staff advised him that it was okay with whatever Stewart, and he decided.
Yeah.
But him and Stewart aren't on the same page.
No.
Mr. Stewart says
it's a murder.
Yeah.
A homicide. And Asher is saying he said it was a S side.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They're not even agreeing. Stewart's not agreeing with Asher.
Exactly.
By his own report. He's not here to tell us now.
Right.
He's not here to. That's funny how that worked out, but okay, we're going to get to a name here in a minute. On January the 28th, 1989, at 10:05 a.m., Captain John Lyle, I knew John Lyle also. Captain John Lyle with the KSP headquarters advised me that it was entirely possible Edrington's death was a S-side, but we are investigating it as a homicide. Lyle had prepared a news release for Lieutenant Colonel Doris Kirkman's review. That KSP's news release stated it was up to the coroner to decide if a coroner's inquest was to be held, and that KSP deferred to Coroner Boland, who was responsible for ruling the cause of death. Guys, if this was after Coroner Boland had already made it plain to the KSP he was refusing to sign the cause of death as homicide, and also after state medical examiner's office had no doubt had the best KSP command staff ask the coroner not to hold the inquest. Guys, this is what's written in his book. We don't know what Ed Bowling said. We don't know if it's true what Asher's saying here. If it's true what Asher's saying, then the coroner, Mr. Bowling, is right there with all these guys. If they believe that this was something other than a homicide and there was an insurance payment made out for a homicide and them knowing that it wasn't and they didn't speak up, then they've committed a crime. Now, Asher can say Boland said whatever he wants. He can say whatever he wants, and that's up to Boland's family. We know how he's done the Edrington family. He had no respect for them or the truth, and that may be something they may want to look at here. But he's trying to say here that Boland thought that the death was an S-side, but he didn't do nothing about it. Since when does a person of that position and hold that office that you see a crime being committed, but you're not going to go tell anybody? On February the 2nd, 1989, at 12:20 p.m., I met with Major Jerry Lovett. Jerry Lovett's now deceased. I also knew him. KSP Commissioner Michael True, Lieutenant Colonel Doris Kirkman, Lieutenant Colonel Charlie Johnson, and KSP Legal Officer Larry Fentress. Didn't know them. About this case. At that time, at that meeting, I recommended we request a coroner's inquest. I was told the KSP had requested the FBI do an equivocal death investigation in the case in lieu of the coroner's inquest.
Okay.
So he's saying that he wanted now they had called him earlier over here in this chapter and told him that him and Stewart could do whatever they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
They told him that
That it was okay with him.
Yeah, that they could do a coroner's inquest.
Whatever they decided,
He says that the coroner had told him that he had been told not to do a coroner's inquest. Well, the coroner's no longer alive. We don't know what that. Maybe his son can talk third party on it. We don't know. But Asher says that he's involved the coroner here, and he says the coroner stated to me, I hope he's not trying to do what I think he's trying to do, implicating like there was a crime going to be committed or it's going to be filled out something other than what it is. And if it is, that's a crime. And if they knowingly know that a crime's been committed, somebody should have reported it. Sheila, I have no idea where I was at.
Mm-hmm. You was talking.
Oh, here's the Mayo, so I'm over in here somewhere. So
right here's where you were at.
I recommended we request a coroner's inquest.
Mm-hmm.
I was told the KSP had requested the FBI do an equivocal. On February the 8th, 1989, a staffer advised me that the psychological profile had been submitted to the FBI for evaluation. Post 11. I can say next few years I remained a post commander at Post 11 in London. No such FBI report was forwarded to me. or placed in the case file. Guys, from what we understand, that's probably correct. That's probably a true statement, because from what we understand, Jack and Patty Edrington, Johnny's parents, became very upset with Captain Doug Asher
Mhm.
and the treatment on the mistakes on various paperwork that he had done on Johnny not being a veteran, on spelling Johnny's name wrong or his middle name, on getting his date of birth. There were several different, not counting supposedly losing evidence, mainly the shirt. If there was no buttons missing, if there was no medals missing, if there was no scratches, what was the purpose? Who got the shirt from the autopsy?
Right.
Was the shirt placed in evidence and disappeared from evidence? Was it ever taken to evidence? Is the shirt missing at all? We don't know.
We don't know. Yeah.
We know what we've been told.
Yeah.
Shortly after the meeting with Dr. Huntsinker, a meeting was scheduled with Dr. Vincent DeMayo,
Mhm.
a nationally recognized expert on gunshot wounds. Who better to go to? He's complaining because they're calling this a homicide. They don't want to call this a S side. Now, Huntsinger called it undetermined. Okay, they can go with undetermined, but they're still looking for the cause. They've called the FBI in. Now they have called. Now, this cost them money. The FBI was free.
Mm-hmm.
But this DeMayo guy
nationally
renowned, and that's what he does.
Specializes in whatever.
Specializes in reviewing autopsies and testifying in court, things like that. Scheduled with Dr. Vincent DeMayo, a nationally recognized expert on gunshot wounds. Dr. DeMayo was asked to review photos and other evidence in this case and provide his opinion. Lieutenant William Stewart and one representative from KSP Internal Affairs, Lieutenant James Page, met with Dr. DeMayo in Texas.
Wow.
DeMayo advised that in his opinion, this was most likely a suicide. However, since the deceased was a police officer, he would give the deceased the benefit of the doubt and say it was possible it could have been a homicide. Now, guys, a world-renowned professional, and he's going to tell either
Mr. Page.
Either Page and them or Asher.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Page is alive or William Stewart we know is not alive. So I don't know if Page is alive or not.
Is it James Page?
I'm sure it says.
Okay.
But this nationally renowned doctor is going to put his reputation online and say, hey, guys, it's probably a suicide, but because he's a police officer, I'm going to mark it a homicide. Do you believe that? I don't. I don't believe the man's going to put his reputation on the line. I don't believe the FBI is going to put their reputation on the line. I don't believe George Nichols and David Jones is going to put their... Nobody knew this trooper. This trooper was a nobody. He was a police officer for the Kentucky State Police. The very people that's not standing up for him is a couple of the people that worked with him. You got to understand, we've talked to other troopers that was actually there that night and saw it and said when they first got there, they didn't think it was a suicide. So
yeah.
I don't know we don't know what to think about this. Why would anybody, if that's even true, let's say this statement's true. Let's, for sake of argument,
okay,
a veteran, a state trooper, would that be uncommon for somebody other than a professional like DeMayo? Would somebody say, another trooper say, hey guys, we don't know for sure what happened here. Let's don't call it a S side until we know
for a fact.
A fact.
Mm-hmm.
This is Johnny E. We work with him. Colonel Asher, this was one of your troopers.
One of our
You're
own.
Throwing him under the bus. Mr. Phelps, you're saying that night that he's offed himself just because he's got a gun in the wrong hand? Wow. Friends like some of these guys, Johnny E. didn't need enemies. I feel you. Seeking Dr. DeMayo's opinion on this case had been no more than another attempt by the KSP command staff to gain any sort of justification whatsoever for ruling the case of Edrington's death a homicide. Guys, they've called everybody and their uncle in to look at this case to try to get the truth. If they'd never called nobody in, never called the FBI, never called DeMayo, never called, then, and they just ruled it, the state police said that, then you could go along with Asher. They've tried everybody in the world. They're not covering nothing up. They are now. Ever who's in charge, Philip Burnett, he's the commissioner. Somebody's covering something up now because Asher calls it a gray cover-up, and they won't open the case or reopen the case or reassign the case. Mm-hmm. The case is not closed. It's open. Doug Phelps was correct. If I ever said it was closed, I was wrong. The case is not closed. It's just not activated. It's not actively been investigated. After receiving the opinions of DeMayo, the Kentucky Chief Medical Examiner, Dr. George R. Nichols, signed Edrington's death certificate listing the cause of death as homicide. What else would you list it as? This is two great medical examiners, and then the famous one, even Huntsinker said it was undetermined. Mm-hmm. These three here went on with their expertise of thousands of gunshot. Before my appointment to major. Oh, wow. Before my appointment to major, I remained post commander in London Post for 5 more years. If anybody is at this post and you believe this case is anything other than a homicide, you don't need to be working here. This is his book. He says he remained at that post for 5 more years after Edrington's death. During that time, I continued to review every aspect of the case. What review? What aspect? They wouldn't go talk to Robert Foley. They said in the newspaper they refused to talk to Robert Foley. We know people that's called us on the phone and we think they're telling us the truth. They're veterans. They're people of credibility. Nobody come out and talked to them, and they called in 36 years ago with 2 other witnesses with them. Mm-hmm. 3 people called. I continue to review every aspect of this case. Why would you review every aspect of the case, Mr. Asher? You said it was unanimous. It was an S side. Why would you continue to investigate it? If it's an S side, you've done the scientific research.
Experiment, yeah.
But we were told you were taken off the case. Why would you continue to investigate something that you think so wholeheartedly is a S side? You're contradicting yourself. During this time, I continue to review every aspect. I personally interviewed every investigator that had any direct knowledge of any evidence in this case. Also, I reviewed the report of Edrington's autopsy. I believe some members of the KSP command staff thought it would reflect badly on the agency if this case was ruled a S side. As a result, in my extremely informed opinion, yeah, thank you, babe. It's his opinion, just like I've got an opinion. Sheila's got an opinion. But in his extremely informed opinion, what did he have in his opinion? Informed. What did he have? DeMayo says it's undetermined. Never told nobody it was a S side. Dr.
Huntsinker said it was undetermined.
Who'd I say?
DeMayo.
I'm sorry. Hey, I've got his name down now.
Oh, you That's did?
Good. Yeah. Hunsinker said it was undetermined. Dr. Ed Bowling, see, these people's not here to talk for themselves. So we don't know what Mr. Bowling might have said or didn't say.
It's like a he said.
Yeah. And you can't. I see Doug Bowling down here. Let me continue to read here. I'll try to move on faster. This was in spite of I believe some of the members of the command staff as a result. This was in spite of overwhelming evidence which pointed to the death being a S-side and zero evidence indicating it had been a homicide. All the evidence, overwhelming. He had the gun. Somebody put the gun in his hand, in the wrong hand, pointing at him. That's it. But we've got a bent hood. We've got scratches on the hood. We got scratch marks. We got a truck driver that says he saw him turning on a truck to go pull him over, which would have been right in time with him getting off duty. All these things, all in this report here, uniforms, a scuffle, fingerprints on the hood, flashlights, 4.5 foot away from his body. He took the flashlight out of the car with him to hold a flashlight, held the gun in one hand, pulled the trigger with his thumb, and he's got his flashlight there for some reason, because when he fell, his flashlight fell 4 foot 9 inches from his right foot, I think it was.
And how far away was he from his car? Approximately?
I think the flashlight was 18 foot from his car or something like that.
And that's consistent with
a vehicle being in front of you, being on a traffic stop.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Since this case was ruled a homicide, numerous people have come forth stating they have information about this unsolved murder. People have had their own very motives for offering the information. Some of the individuals who didn't like the officers who investigated the case have went as far as to suggest KSP had something to do with the murder. Others who have come forward were just misinformed citizens that wanted to help.
Okay. He says S-side, but there he says it's a murder. They have something, they have information on the murder.
Wow. Babe.
You're welcome.
Look at you. Guys, on page 211, Doug Asher writes, people have had their own varying motives for offering the information. Some of the individuals who didn't like the officers who investigated the case have went as far as to suggest the KSP had something to do with the murder. That's his word. Others who have come forward were just misinformed citizens who wanted to help.
Up here it says unsolved murder.
Since this case was ruled a homicide, numerous people have come forth stating they have information about this unsolved murder. That's in Doug's book. S-side, overwhelming evidence, and all this and that all the way through, but of course he's got the quotations, but however, in every case, someone come forward with possible leads. When investigators followed up on the information, it was amounted to nothing and a dead end. As recently as the spring of 2023, after conferring with many of the investigators who originally worked on this case and current Laurel County Coroner Doug Bolin. Now, guys, we don't have that information readily available. This book came out in 2023, if I ain't mistaken. But you guys that knows these people, you all can help. 2023. I don't know when Ed Bowling died. As recently as spring of 2023, conferring with many of the investigators who originally worked on this case and current Laurel County Coroner Doug Bolin, all of whom were still strongly of the same opinion of the death was a suicide. I compiled a packet of detailed information pertaining to this case. Now, I'd like to know when William Stewart died, because we know William Stewart's dead.
Yeah.
And we'd like to know what was in that he compiled that was in Ed Bowling's file that Doug Bowling gave them. If there was something in Ed Bowling's file that said that was a S-side, and the coroner, Laurel County Coroner, did not go to the Commonwealth Attorney, did not go to another agency and ask for an investigation, and you, I submitted it to the KSP personnel at Post 11 in the form of a supplemental case, 1188-1844, the Edrington case, for inclusion into the case file in an effort to have death certificate amended to reflect. Mr. Asher got some kind of a misconception here that because he was a lieutenant colonel or a captain or a major in the Kentucky State Police that he's also a part-time medical examiner or a coroner. He's wanting to change somebody's death certificate. The supplement was not met with enthusiasm from the Kentucky State Police. I hope the personnel at Post 11 had the integrity. Wow, this is somebody to talk about integrity, character. Had the integrity to actually include it in the case file. To my knowledge, there has been no additional follow-ups on this case or change of its disposition as a result of the information I provided. Yeah, I'd say not. I'd say not 35 years later, Mr. Asher. I don't think anybody runs straight out, said, hey, it's been 35 years later. He's brought us a supplement to add to Johnny Edrington's case here. How can you even add a supplement 35 years later and no longer a trooper, no longer connected and been removed from the case? How can you even add anything to that file? And I hope they make sure that the date on that is correct in case somebody 36 more years from now comes to looking at this case and they open it up and they see that affidavit or that supplemental and they take that as being placed in there at the time of his death, like it's been there all along. See, this is what I've talked about in the last couple of videos. Who did he complain to? Who did he report to? Who did he go to the FBI or U.S. Attorney's Office? What's this supplemental say? Does this supplemental say, I've complained to the FBI, I've complained to this one, I've complained? Does it say that now, 35 years later?
Is there proof of that?
And they can act like, they can think, well, he must have done this. This must have been back when this happened. It ain't got no date on it, or it's got the wrong date. See, that should be open. That should be open to public record. Open record requests. We should be able to get that in an open record request because there's no evidence there that could be used 35 years later that would be relevant. And if there is, then he needs to be arrested for keeping that information quiet for all these years and an insurance policy being paid. If he's put something in that report that was relevant that would have proved this case way back. I know, babe. Guys, sorry we drug these two videos. This is going to be two different videos. And I would say not 5 people's probably on here watching it.
That's all right.
But I wanted to go over that. Now, getting on with our point, we've been up in the mountains. We went to Eastern Kentucky and cleaned some tombstones for Memorial Day.
Yeah.
And our parents, and then some of the
siblings on mine.
McCoys. Yeah, well, Sheila's siblings, plus some of the McCoys that at the Forbidden Cemetery that nobody can go to unless you're related. We went up there and cleaned on that cemetery. Now, you know, and we discussed it in the last video, Huntsinker says in his interview on TV with
Lee Searcy.
Thank you, baby. He says, she asked him, she said, could it have been a homicide? He says, yes. Weak standard, but yes, anything's possible. Guys, if it's possible, why would we want to call it a S-side? Why would we want to do a veteran like that? If it's possible in the tiniest amount that man was killed, then that's what it should be called, not the other way. I don't care if it's 90%. I don't care if it is. It's not. But let's go along with Doug Asher. Overwhelming evidence it was S-side. Overwhelming, but there's a chance that it was a homicide. Okay, let's go with the homicide. Because that's the right thing to do for somebody rather than dishonor him. If we're going to make a mistake, let's err on the part of the good instead of bad mouthing them. Now, Dr. Hunsinker says there, and I took it to mean, even though he said that way back he ruled it undetermined,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes on, he continues to talk to Lee Searcy, and he tells her, he said, if you want to know who killed Johnny Edrington, you're going to have to dig them up. And I thought he was implying that's who killed him, was himself. I thought that's what he was saying. Now, the man's done said he ruled it undetermined. The man's done said it's possible it's a homicide. So why he would say, after saying it's possible that it was a homicide, why would he even say the only way you're going to find it is dig them up? You just got through saying it's possible that it's a homicide, but now you're going to say, so I'm having and somebody else commented on this. That's where I got it from. Does he mean dig them up and do an autopsy, redo an autopsy? Does he mean dig them up and there's a note somewhere in there, or there's some kind of evidence that's there that would prove he's still alive today? Somebody can ask him, what did you mean? Did you mean dig them up because that's who you think done it, even though you just got through saying it's possible it's a homicide? Or did you mean dig them up because there's some evidence that maybe somebody left? Maybe you left something in there. Maybe we don't know.
Right.
Sheila will post whatever articles she hasn't posted yet, the documents, she will post them.
Right.
2 long videos, we know it.
Sorry.
This is not for views. We know we're going to get very few views unless you're just really into this case. And we know that there's some dedicated people that's into it.
Mm-hmm.
We know sometimes I repeat things. Sometimes I do it intentionally. I want to make it known. And these are not only for viewing, but they're for records. These are for the Edrington family. I'll throw Sheila's going to put a thing at the back of the video, a disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll go ahead and throw it out there right now. Anything we say is alleged opinions.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm looking for a word there, but I can't think of it.
Entertainment purposes.
Entertainment purpose. Call it whatever you want. If we've said anything that's intentionally incorrect or liable or slanderous, we're sorry. Please put it in the comments or call us or write us, and we'll apologize and take it out. We don't want to do that. That's not how we work. We want to solve this case after 36 years. We want to show that this case can be solved. And if it's solved, it will only be by the grace of God.
That's right.
It's not by Sheila and I. It's by the grace of God that every time we get ready to say we're not going to do it no more, we're not going to fool with it, something else comes up. Just like every time we left the woods over there looking for Joseph Couch every day, we went over on a date night, one evening, and come home, and that was going to be it. We went back 5 more times until we finally found. Every day we'd come home, we'd say, that's it. My back's killing me, her knee's killing her. The troopers was rude with us. We got disheartened, and it was scary.
Yeah.
Scary having your wife out there running around the woods looking for somebody that's shot 5 people and 17 cars. A lot of responsibility, but we thought we could talk to him if he was still alive and tell him nobody was deceased and he would turn himself in.
Yeah.
That's what we thought. But how I got off on this case again, babe, I don't know.
It's all good. No worries.
Oh, by the grace of God. It was God. Every day I'd come home every night and I'd say, we're not going back. That's it. We're not going back. And daggone, if we wouldn't get up next morning and take a shower and get our clothes on, we wouldn't even say nothing to each other. We just knew that we were going back.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason. It was the weirdest. That was a life-changing experience for me.
Yeah.
I mean, that really, faith is faith of a mustard seed. And for some reason, we've got the same feeling about this case.
Mm-hmm.
There's grandchildren that's involved that need to know the truth.
His daughter
That grew up hearing rumors. And now, 35 years later, there's a book that comes out that's the most, I don't know when it is, people, and hopefully she'll have the video out by then. May, it'll be sometime within the next week or two. It's Police Memorial Week, when they honor all police officers across the United States that's killed in the line of duty. And once again, Johnny Edrington will be honored in Taylor County. But if any of you are around Taylor County, or Taylor County, right, Campbellsville, go to the cemetery there, find out, go to Justice for Johnny page. That's not our page. That's not our page, but go to Justice for Johnny page. And if they haven't posted it, I know they watch us, and they will, and they'll post whenever the memorial is going to be. If nothing else, go show your support for the Edrington family and for Johnny, because they'll be there. And I can't think of a better way. If you've followed our videos and you think we're correct, you think Johnny was homicide, and he was, go pay your respect on that one day for that 1 hour. Good little drive, beautiful drive. You can see the Johnny Edrington Highway. They've done Johnny up right in Campbellsville and Taylor County. He's got a park. He was a police officer there, a city police officer, before he went and become a Kentucky State Trooper.
No.
After he served in the United States Army, attaining the rank of sergeant. Johnny Edrington and his family have been mistreated and slandered. And if somebody can prove us wrong on that, then we'll apologize.
Sure.
And I don't believe it's going to happen. And I believe that the murderer or hers are still out there. I believe if we had access to go talk to some people, we'd like to either rule somebody in or out. And then it could go in a different direction. I think some people have probably been slandered and mistreated in other respects, not just the Edrington family, but that's not our concern, because these other people are capable, very capable, of taking up for themselves, it seems like. So we don't have to take up for everybody. Johnny is dead. Johnny can't speak out. So we got to be the voice for Johnny, and his family's got to be the voice. And I think his family's not controversial. His family doesn't like attention. His family doesn't like, but I don't think they like their loved one, his name and his honor and his character and I don't think they like it being slandered neither. Sometimes you can push people to a certain point, and then finally they just say, hey, we're not going to take it anymore. This has to stop. And that right there, I'm not going to reach down there to get it, but that down there is definitely, if nothing else, it should be taken off the shelves, because it's incorrect. Unless he's got a video somewhere showing what happened. I don't believe that. Gone on long enough, ain't I? You can cut it out.
It's
Whatever.
all good.
Me and Sheila's we've got to know this family.
Yeah. Sweet family.
We've got to know them. We count them as friends.
Definitely.
They have no connection on what I say on here, just like Sheila don't. This is Fred McCoy speaking. And I may seem harsh sometimes or mean. It's the way I come across. That's straightforward. I don't beat around the bush. I don't believe that's the Marines. I went in the Marine Corps 17 years old. They raised me.
Yeah.
No apologies. I like the way I am. I'd rather, people used to say, you don't have to go to the country store to see what Fred McCoy thinks about you. He'll tell you to your face.
For sure.
And I like that. I'd rather be like that. I like people like that. I like people that responds, and I respect that. I'd rather have people like that. Catch you next time. Anything, babe?
Nope. It's all good.
My coffee's got cold. Go ahead.
All right. We hope you're having a great evening, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll catch you on the next one. God bless.
God bless you guys. God bless everybody. And that's it.
Okay. Bye.
Babe.